Focus. Corey, would you take this back, please, and have a seat at the yellow table? You're going to be our scout. Markayla, would you take this back, please, and have a seat at the red table? Corey and Markayla are obviously going to be watching you all while they're watching me. We're watching for students who are showing respect, making a good decision, solving a problem. Okay. Right now, the best thing you can do to make good decisions is keep your eyes on the board. Have your listening ears ready. I'm giving directions today, kind of the big idea of an assignment that's going to last several days. If something's going to last several days and I'm telling you I'm explaining it now is a really good time to be thinking and listening attentively so that for the next few days you're not having lots of questions or wishing you had paid more attention right now. This is one of those big E assignments. We're going to start a writing task, a full paper that will span about a week, and it's following that same style of persuasive writing, which is also stating your strong opinion about something. When we write in the persuasive style, it really means that you have a purpose, and your purpose is that you want to convince. Okay, so the purpose of this type of writing, when you write in this style, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to convince, there's another word for persuade, a reader. Now we gotta stop right there because usually a good question to ask yourself before you start writing something is, who is this for? Who will be reading my writing? If I'm gonna work really hard on this paper, I need to know who my audience is. Sometimes it's easy for fifth graders to just think, well, my audience is Mrs. Bailey. She's the one grading my paper, so I'm just going to write, Mrs. Bailey, I hope I do really well on this paper. Here's my first reason. Here's my second. We need to remove ourselves from that way of thinking and always be thinking about if it's a big piece, a writing piece where I'm going to brainstorm, rough draft, and publish my final paper. That final paper could be read by lots of people. We could hang them in the hall. We could share them with our local Parks and Rec department. We could put them in a stack in the office for people to come by and read. You have to think bigger. Your audience is anyone who reads your paper. Your parents, me, Mr. Holton, your reading group teacher, anyone who walks by. Your reader, in this case, will be lots of different people. You're trying to convince them to agree with your, in this case, you're the author, your opinion. Okay? Or sometimes it's your belief about something, or you want to get people to take action. And this time we do. We want people not just to think, yeah, littering outside isn't the best. Yeah, we probably shouldn't go around and just kill all the sloths of the world. We want them to take more action than just that. We want them to do everything they can do to treat nature with respect. That's kind of the big idea, and it goes in line with all the journey stories we've been reading lately. Right? If you think all the way back to before winter break, we read about Old Yeller, we read about cougars, we read about Interrupted Journey with the turtle who got injured on his way, and we just finished Everglades Forever. All those stories share one big common thread, and that is they're all talking about the wild nature outdoors. Okay, animals that live out in wild, endangered species, taking care of our environment. We are going to write a paper, and your paper needs to follow a specific format. Now, everyone's paper is going to sound very different, but it should have the same pieces. The first piece your paper should have is a really strong introduction paragraph. Did I say introduction line?
No.
Introduction sentence?
No.
Introduction paragraph. And in 5th grade, the expectation is 3 to 5 sentences. Well-written sentences. And on another day this week, I'm going to give you some really cool ideas of how to hook your reader. You're hooked on something when you don't want to stop. You're hooked on your favorite movie if it starts and you're like, oh, I can't turn this off. I have to go to the bathroom and I'm not going to go because I'm so hooked. I don't want to stop. I don't want to even leave the room because I don't want to miss what happens next. Our goal as writers is to hook our reader from the beginning of our paper and make them not want to stop reading. So we'll talk later this week about some clever ways you can hook your reader in your introduction paragraph. Now, just like last week's skill that we had a little graphic organizer in our ELA spirals, we talked about how the person who wrote Everglades Forever had reasons why the students that visited it should be trying to keep that area protected, to conserve it. We talked about how good writers, when they're trying to convince or persuade people, use strong reasons. You're going to use strong reasons in your paper. You'll have 3 strong reasons, and each reason will actually be its own paragraph. Now, starting today, for some of you in your small group reading teacher plans to do kind of a group paragraph with you. Each paragraph, though, will have a few components, okay, some parts to it, going in line with this format topic. Because we're trying to write strong papers, we need to use facts and details, not, oh, I really, really think you should. Paragraph 2, oh, I really, really think you should, because you're my best friend. Those aren't strong reasons. Okay, strong reasons give facts. They give details. They make it hard for people to continue with their choices. We want them to turn and really do what you're convincing them to do. If it's respecting nature, your reasons should make them want to respect nature, take better care of nature, try to preserve it or conserve it better. So we're going to, each paragraph, we're going to use facts and we're going to use details. The facts can come from a lot of different places. The details are definitely going to come from sources we've already read. If I asked you to take out your Journeys book and open it up to some things that you could get sources and details from, well, you could open it up to Everglades Forever and talk about why it's important to save the mangrove swamps. You could open it up to Interrupted Journey and talk about how Yellow Blue, the little turtle, had a rough patch of his life, but thankfully survived and was taken care of and eventually released in the wild. But you also have all these multitude of resources because most of you, no, all of you have read most of these, meaning no one in here has read all of them because they're different groups, right? So if you meet with Mr. Marcus, you've read some of these. Someone else who reads in a small group with us has read some of these. But everyone read Big Cats. Everyone read Mangrove Swamp. Everyone read Save Our Sea Turtles. And then some of you read some of these other ones. Maybe you were in the group that read about marine animals. Maybe your group did gentle sea lions. Maybe this week you're reading about urban parks, black bears. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going and going. That's where you're going to get your facts and details from. Sources of things you've already read. Not go to the library and buy new books. You have plenty of sources just using our Journeys materials that we've already read. The next thing, each paragraph needs to have some strong examples. Okay? If you say in your paper, ooh, you should respect nature and not feed black bears, well, why? What's an example? What would be an example of that? Why is it bad for black bears to be fed from people camping? If you read that book about black bears, you know why. Okay? You know the dangers and the reasons why that's not a good practice. So each paragraph will have some examples, and each paragraph should have some support. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to model an example of this. Some of you also may, in your small group today, see a great example of what one paragraph with all those things looks like. Then, if you want to turn your paper from a 3 to a 4, one way for students to go above is to do something called a counter-argument. Say that with me. Counter-argument. A counter-argument is actually something that takes a little higher level thinking, because what you're really doing is you're predicting someone who reads my paper might disagree with me, and what could I say to them right now to help make sure they don't disagree. I have to be able to think ahead of what reasons might someone say who's not really concerned with this, and what reasons could I use to help even those people who are already trying to say no. If we think about the boy Alex from I Want Iguana, right? He had already thought of some of the things his mom was going to say no to him. In his persuasive letters to his mom, he predicted that she was going to talk about the money thing. So remember, before she even said it, he first said, now I know you're going to say it costs money to get an iguana, but you should know that I plan to use my allowance to buy the lettuce for the iguana, for their food. So he had already thought of what his mom was going to say no to, so that he could give a counter argument and kind of predict what would someone else say that would make this a concern of theirs, and how can I already make sure that that won't be a reason why they say no to my ideas. Then we'll, of course, like all good writers, we'll wrap up our paper with a conclusion paragraph. Not a conclusion sentence, but a conclusion paragraph. Somewhere in there, we will restate our argument, meaning restate our main purpose, our main opinion. Okay? Now, excellent job listening carefully. Because it's a big assignment, I do have a rubric. Rubrics are super helpful because rubrics allow students to have answers to their questions without coming to me and saying, how long does my paper have to be? Or can I just use 2 of my books and not 3? All of those type questions can be answered with this rubric. This is the rubric you're going to use throughout the whole time you're writing this paper. It starts by repeating some of what I've already said to you, which is that the goal here is that you're going to write a paper that convinces or persuades your reader that it is important for humans to treat nature with respect. That means you might be telling them to conserve or to help or protect, using supporting details from the stories and books covered in Unit 2 of Journeys. Well, what are those? We just talked about them, and I listed them here for you. Interrupted Journey, Old Yeller, Everglades Forever, Cougars. Additionally, any leveled readers and vocabulary readers that you've already read. What I don't want you to do is say, well, I'm in Mrs. Bull's group, but I really want to use that book, so I'm going to read it. Well, you have enough just with what you've already read. So stick to books that you've already read. You still have a lot of choices. And our papers aren't all going to sound the same. I know in the past I've had students who really want to focus their paper on places, habitats. So I've had students who make one whole paragraph about forests in our area, or like some national parks near us, like Yellowstone, not far away from here. Or another habitat like the Everglades, or a more specific habitat within the Everglades called the mangrove swamp. You could just make it about places that you should respect nature. Other students, I know, prefer to focus on animals. So they might have 3 paragraphs that each highlight a different animal who deserves respect out in nature. Black bears, Mexican wolves, big cats. That's where all of our papers are going to be different, because you get to choose what sources you want to make your writing really strong. Okay? We're going to get into this a little bit more over the next couple of days, but because some of you in your small groups that you're about to go to, in some of your small groups, your small group teacher today is going to have you start making those decisions about, well, what 3 are you going to use? Are you going to use the Journeys book, Everglades Forever for 1, and maybe the ocean as a second one, and rivers and lakes as your 3rd paragraph? So then which 3 resources or texts will you use when you're finding details? Because just like on our Whales performance task, you've got to include details in your writing. How do I know that? Well, because it says on your rubric you need to. Let's say you're aiming high. We should aim high. If we aim high, that means you're just going to focus on what does it take to get a 4. Can I reach for that and hit it? Well, how long would your paper be if you're aiming for a 4? Well, a clear and concise essay with at least 5 well-written paragraphs containing a minimum of 5 to 7 complete sentences in each paragraph. Well, that's going to be a pretty lengthy paper, but that's what you're working towards. Is it a persuasive piece? Do you use details from more than 3 different texts that help to support the main idea? Well, how come I'm saying more? These can be your body paragraphs, meaning first reason, second reason, third reason. You could also have details in your introduction or in your conclusion. And then that's taking it to the next level. That's getting more. And they have to support that main idea. How about your details, the actual details? They have to be copied exactly, correctly inserted with quotation marks, and clearly intertwined to support the main idea. So we wouldn't just pick some random line out of here. Other male cats live alone and females live with their cubs. Well, what does that help you prove your point of that your main goal is? Make sure you're not just picking any line out of here, but a specific sentence or part that really helps bring your point about why humans need to treat nature with respect, or conserve, or protect. Then we move over to content organization style. Is your essay well written? Stays on topic? Clearly connected details, convincing your reader that it's important for humans to treat nature with respect. The writing process, remember I said this is a full paper. It's not going to day. It's the full paper. It will be turned in on time. It'll include a brainstorm page, a rough draft, showing, editing, and revisions, and a final draft that's either written in your nicest handwriting or typed. And then conventions. Conventions are how well you're actually able to use the rules of English, right? So above grade level use of grammar, conventions, capitalization, punctuation, spelling, very few errors found in your final paper. Those are the things you want to focus on when you aim for a 4. On the back side of this, and we'll go into this more tomorrow, here are some samples. They're kind of just pictures of what a good writer might use for a brainstorm page. A lot of you, I know on your Wales performance task, Mrs. Salas really helped guide you towards a 4 square. If that works for you and you're good with a 4 square, go for it. Other people like to do more of a web. Other people, I know, come to 5th grade knowing that their primary teachers taught them the hamburger writing, introduction, conclusion, the meat and patties and cheese. Those are the body paragraphs, reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Your brainstorm is however it helps your brain to come up with your plan. Then you have a rough draft. Then you have a conclusion. Tomorrow I'm going to share with you this, because this is just a sample of one really strong paragraph from actually a story that we never read. It's one that we didn't do, so it's an easy one for me to give a sample or an example of what it would look like. While I'm hearing from our scouts, everyone in here is going to get one of these because, like I said, some of you in small groups today might start your brainstorming, so I want you to have this with you. You keep this. This stays with you through this whole writing process and will be turned in with your final paper when we turn in papers. So this is one you want to make sure your name gets on right away. And then everything that has to do with this next writing piece should stay in the writing pocket of your ELA folder. While I'm handing these out, Corey, who did you see who was showing respect, making a good decision, or solving a problem? Ryan. You saw Ryan. What was Ryan doing? He was paying attention. Is that showing respect, making a good decision, or solving a problem? Yeah, when he pays attention, he does show me respect. And respects the people around him. Markayla, who did you see? Kaylee H. What was Kaylee H doing? Having her eyes on me the whole time. Is that showing respect, making a good decision, or solving a problem? She shows respect to me when she keeps her eyes on me. Excellent. Scouts, you did a nice job. Make sure you take an award as well for being our scouts. Everyone needs to keep this in your desk. No, your binder, your ELA writing pocket. Hang on. When I say the signal word, you may go put this in your ELA writing pocket. Adapted.
Adapted.
Change for a purpose. Adapted.
Go ahead. It's okay.
When that's
You're fine.
safely away, you'll be ready to pack up your binder for small groups. So I'll be meeting the schools and formal group at the back table. Mr. Marx's group at the green table. Everyone else will go to their normal small group location. Just for today, I know everyone's different. Hi, Shannon.
How are you? That was great.
I mean, I assumed it would be. It
Yeah.
sounds pretty
That was great.
amazing.
Lots of snow and
I bet.
sunshine, so.
No injuries?
No injuries.
Good.
Good.
Okay, so your group, let's see if I can remember.
I know,
that.
I'm
The snow
doing
days kind of made me a bit forgetful. So I believe they've completed the whole reading, and they're about halfway through. They just need to find another reason that sports is cool, and then they can work on those.
Perfect.
And you can do them before, you can share them out loud as they go.
Okay.
Perfect. You guys are gonna help me out with your work here.
They're still class. Yeah.
But we'll be ours just a smidgen early. Alright, ready?
Occasionally outside. I mean, they were testing. Yeah, you could put your binder down, you know.
Oh, you do?
Doesn't get to go yet.
Perfect. Should cover everyone for today, and then tomorrow we'll get going on something that we can write some more. Yeah, that's the one that
Okay.
And if you finish it tomorrow, you can do that.
Wait, what? This? Okay. This is?
Little thing.
Set.
Okay.
Okay. Miss State is correcting this whole.
I know, we're switching today. Just for today. Yep.
Oh, that's an arrow. That's an arrowhead. That's an arrowhead. I know how to make one. You need to take a piece of the sharp or take any type of rock.
She told me. Hold on, just a minute. I'm gonna sit right here. You're gonna sit right here, perfect. You don't actually need your binders. Today you are going to be doing something kind of different. It's a fun activity that is connected to what we're still learning about nature, urban parks. I'm going to give you an article. It's actually two short articles smushed together. Listen to the titles. The titles of your articles are Arches National Park and Be a Park Volunteer. When you hear those two titles, what predictions do you have about what you might be reading about today? Jaleesa, what prediction do you have? Trying to convince you to volunteer for the park. Ariel, what are you predicting?
Like it's giving information about what you can do in the park and stuff.
Give information about what you do in the park. Other predictions? Remember the titles are Arches National Park and Be a Park Volunteer. Aiden?
Going to learn about a national park.
Learn about a national park. Good predictions. Now we take it a step further. I'm going to actually hand you the article. You are not right now going to read the whole thing. Instead, you're going to use what you know about text and graphic features. So we're just going to scan when good readers scan things, they just quickly look at things like titles, pictures, what are their text and graphic features, captions, diagrams,
boxes,
bold,
italics,
italics, headings, all great things to look for. I can't promise you all those things are in there, but browse, that means don't read every single word. Just quickly browse, and then I'm going to take some more or different or new predictions.
It's a miracle. You live right there.
Digging into the actual text, just looking quickly at the text features, we're going to refute. That means we might change what our predictions were, or we might be confirming them and saying, yeah, I think one of our earlier predictions is right. So now that we've scanned, what new predictions do you have related to what you're reading about? Lily?
That Arches National Park got its name from an rock that was made into an arch.
Got its name from a rock. Say it again, Lily.
That's shaped like an arch.
Shaped like an arch. I'm going to look at that. Kaylee.
that's
It will tell you what you're gonna what you're gonna do if you volunteer.
What you're going to do if you volunteer. Any other new predictions, confirmed predictions? What?
There's Utah.
Okay, so why do you think that map of Utah might go there?
Because that's where one of the parks is.
So maybe you'll be reading about the location.
Yeah.
All right, here's what's gonna happen next, because I gotta scoot back over to my other group. You guys are gonna now do an activity called clunkers and links. Clunkers. Say clunker with me.
Clunker.
Clunker. What this reminds me of is if you're driving along in a car and all of a sudden you hear a loud your car has come to a clunk. It's kind of stopped. So you're driving along, everything's good, and then all of a sudden something happens, who knows what, but it caused your car to kind of clunk to a stop. That happens to good readers all the time. Good readers will be reading along and they'll get to a word that they either can't pronounce, don't really know in the context that it's being used, or just a word or a phrase that makes your reading kind of come to a clunk and you stop. When that happens today, I want you to take a sticky note and you'll put a little question mark on that sticky note, because for clunkers we show them with this question mark. And you may want to be really specific. When you stick that sticky note, if it's just right there, that maybe doesn't show you the best. You may also want to add an arrow that says just that one word there is my clunker, or that part of the sentence is what made me kind of come to a clunk. And you also may have connections, okay? Good readers have connections all the time. Connections are things that make you go, ooh, that reminds me of my cousin who went camping. It reminds me of a show I saw. It reminds me of a book. It reminds me of something my dad said. It reminds me of who knows, something that you have a connection. When that happens, it's usually like a little light bulb goes on, or like you have I have a star moment because I have a connection to that. That sounds familiar to me, or I know a little bit about that. And that's when we link. A link, you're going to show with a star. A link means when I come back to the group, I have something I want to share because it's a connection I have. It's something I already knew a little bit about, and I want to share that connection with the group. Everyone understand clunkers and links?
Yes.
How many of you have to? Well, I don't know, because I don't know how many times you're going to clunk and how many times you'll have a link. Don't go crazy, because we'll only have a certain amount of time to share. When you come back here, if I'm not ready yet, I would like you each one at a time to share your one clunker, one link. I will be back and we'll write some of them up there for clunkers and links. So you are going to be reading with a partner. Kaylee and Anthony, would you please take your packets and a stack of these sticky notes and have a seat somewhere where you're not going to be disrupted by anyone else. You'll read together and then you'll come back here. Jaleesa and Ariel, will you take these and go partner up and come back here when you're done? And that will leave Tayshawn, Aiden, and Lily all here at this table as a little triad working together. Are there any questions? No questions? I'll meet you back here in a little bit. Stay focused. Please use the level 1 listener voice so that I can hear
I'll
you.
be right here.
Seems like we were all able to reread, right? Reread page 6, 7, and 8. Remind me, page 6, 7, and 8 is all about what habitat are they talking about on those pages? In other words, the Presidio. Just out of curiosity, has anyone ever been to the Presidio in San Francisco? It's not too terribly far. As far as urban parks go, the Presidio is not very, very far. It's probably an airplane ride away. It's in San Francisco. San Francisco is in Northern California. I've gone to the Presidio a couple times, but that's partially because I used to live in San Francisco, just outside of San Francisco. So it's more familiar to me. But honestly, even when I lived there, I didn't know some of the cool things about it that I've learned from this book. The author of this book does a really good job getting his goal across. The question to you, though, was which goal do you think the author has in writing about the Presidio? And eventually we'll get into the other urban parks in DC. Thumbs up if you were able to pick the goal that you think was right. A couple of you got a chance to pick. Paul, you're saying yes, you chose. Which one do you think? You're saying this one is the goal? So read it out loud first.
Just persuade readers that urban parks like the Presidio are worth protecting.
Are you right? Is that the goal?
Well, he talks about the place and he says that we might want to save these creatures.
Ooh, like what?
Like raccoons. And if there was no Presidio, there would be no way to live.
For certain plants and animals that live in that habitat, it would be really hard for them to survive if the Presidio was gone. If they came in and bulldozed it all and put a big hotel up, that would be. Anyone else think a different goal was the goal of the author?
Struggle to survive today.
So Aubrey's thinking 1 or 3, Dakota's thinking 1. Why, Dakota? So 1 says to teach readers about the types of plants that are native to California's Presidio.
Animals can't, they need that specific area to stay alive by the weather conditions, the temperature.
Oh, good listening.
If your habitat gets all destroyed, then they have nowhere else to live and then they get extinct.
So specifically the Ravens manzanita, I can tell you got some good details from that section. The Ravens manzanita is one of those plants that, could it grow in Puyallup? Could the Ravens manzanita grow in Puyallup?
No. Because it would be a
No, because it
non-native
has to
species.
have that type of soil, that rock.
Unless they bring it around.
Well, where'd the rock come from?
The Earth's course, it got pushed up when the earthquake happened. The plates moved apart, and the giant crater and the lava just pushed it up to the top.
Wow. The snow day did nothing to your memory. Nice job. So, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of years ago, the actual Earth's surface was what kind of rock? Serpentine. And the soil, because remember, soil is rock that after hundreds of millions of years turns into dirt, and that's soil. So we can't just snap our fingers and say, oh, let's have this plant here and be all, because it couldn't grow in the type soil we have. It needs a specific kind in San Francisco. So I can see why people are saying this one, because the author taught us that, right? He taught to teach readers about the plants like roots and humans and why it grows in the precipitation. So now I've heard from a couple of you who have good reasons why it's to teach and good reasons why it's to persuade. Do sometimes writers write with more than one goal in mind?
Yes, I think when it was about me because she saw that the author was trying to teach and persuade.
That is what Aubrey said, both. If this were a question on a test,
You can pick both.
what?
You can pick both unless it said pick two that were the same goal.
Yeah, sometimes on assessments it says pick two. If this one were just that there's one right answer, how would you decide?
It's going to be IP program, which stands for Volunteers and Partners.
You just pick both.
Ah, impressive. Yeah, rereading, going back and reading again, or thinking about your schema, what you already know. So if we reread the whole section on the Presidio, do you think it would help us to know whether the goal is to persuade or to teach?
Arches National Park volunteers help community trails.
Okay, these we're saying don't even make sense. Okay, that's a great strategy to get rid of the ones that aren't right. It doesn't really help us though with these, because we're saying these are the two that we're kind of stumped on. Why, Ethan?
Visiting Arches National Park can be like visiting another country.
He's starting to loud. They're getting a little noisy. It's hard to hear you. If you did know, what would you say? If you did know, what would you say?
In addition to spiders,
What about that one?
Volunteer guides tell us they give visitors the important fact about the community. The big thing is
What is page 8, the author doing on page 8? First he talks about ravens, manzanita, then he talks about the type of butterfly, the Xerxes blue butterfly. And then on page 8,
it's talking about what people did.
yeah, it's been changed by humans to meet human needs.
And then all these plants, like the Air Force Base that was built right near the Columbia Bridge, used to be an Air Force Base, and they used to dump all this garbage, so all the plants died there.
Right.
And then the Air Force Base abandoned or left there.
Well, they didn't need it as much anymore. It used to be a really important spot for a base. It was a good spot to protect, because if anyone was going to try to attack by boat, this is right on the water's edge. You could see them coming. You could protect the whole part of San Francisco. So they did need a base there. And do humans produce garbage? Do you guys all produce garbage at your house? What happens when you take the garbage out? Yeah. It doesn't just go away. It's not like your garbage can magically sucks it into another dimension, right? It goes somewhere. It goes to a dump. Unfortunately, what they did here was they just dumped, kind of like a landfill.
non-native speakers, native plants, and beach, volcanoes,
Right. So the pollution seeps into the earth and actually can change the makeup of the soil. So is the author here just teaching you that? Page 8. On page 8, is the author just telling you all about that garbage stuff just for fun? What's the purpose in adding in that part about human waste and garbage? And Ryan, what were you going to add?
That's where it all goes and how it kills all the waste.
So you can, or me? Who? Ah! Anyone who reads this? Aren't we all the readers?
Detailed people hope that this work will help save the presidios and the plants.
Okay, so when I think about the difference between teach and persuade, what? Usually I think if someone's just going to teach me something, it might just be so that I can be a little bit more knowledgeable about it. If someone's going to persuade me, it means they might be telling me something I need to make sure I do. What? You're right. They put facts in there about the plants and animals.
It's mostly this, but it has some persuasion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Your book is different than ours.
Thank you. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It says right there. And it says on this side.
Oh, yeah. That's the way I need to switch. There we go. Pink one. These ones are very similar. Yes, good eyes. Okay, so if we say that we're still a little bit torn on these two, here's the next question I have for you. Whether it's to teach or to persuade, what reasons do you think the author gives? And to find reasons, we actually have to find them in the text. So would you go back and point to a reason you think that the author is teaching and persuading us about saving this important area?
I found two.
Okay. Turn to your elbow partner and show them yours. Have them show you theirs.
People tell me that this will help save the presidios unique animals.
One at a time, using just the purples. You're going to go through, and hopefully each person can put up one clunker. So if Lily has to mark it first, she's going to find a spot in the writing where she clunked. If it's a spot where she clunked, she's going to be a good reader right now and share that with the group. Maybe that's where other people clunked also. Or maybe someone can help with that clunker. She's going to write it up because it's her clunker. If you have a link, after we go all the way around the group with clunkers, then we'll go all the way around with the links. It's going to require you, though, to be independent, one at a time. If you have the marker, you're the only one who gets to talk. Okay? Then the marker passes, and you go up. If you don't have one or yours got taken, then you just pass. And hopefully when it comes back around to you and you have a link, you can share it. Yes.
Is it okay if you have a clunker and you just read it?
Because you don't know. So that's what you can take your packet with you and copy it up there. Then maybe I can help with that in a minute. Yes.
Do we, after we write our stuff up there, after we say it, or should we write our names next to it?
You don't need to. No, because it might be one that other people have also.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you don't have either?
Well, then you're a good reader.
No connections.
Besides
you
the
don't have
link.
any links.
I didn't have it.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
it is. I don't know.
I did.
That is not true at all. You tell me things all the time. I know you connect to your reading. As it goes around, you may think, oh, yeah, I thought that too. Or I had that's a clunker I have also. So see how it goes when your groups are shared, and you may realize that you actually do have. Okay, Tiziana, what'd you point to?
I have two.
You gotta say it louder so we can hear.
People hope that this work will help save the Presidio's unique animals and plants.
So people are hoping, what work? When it says what work?
The Natural Park Service is working to restore civil in the Presidio. People hope that this work will help save the Presidio's unique animals and plants.
So are they hoping that just by teaching people that it saves it, or do we actually have work we have to do? Oh, there's something you actually have to do. You can't just snap your fingers and have the Raven's manzanita plant growing everywhere. Luckily, we have it in time that we can replant it.
Because I get all
What
these
about the
seeds.
Xerxes blue butterfly, though?
They're extinct.
It's gone. We didn't catch it in time. It's gone. What we're trying to avoid is having other things in this area that go extinct. But just like your detail found, it's going to require work. We have to do work to restore the area. That's a great reason. And from that reason, I think we are getting closer to knowing whether we're just teaching or persuading.
He said plants and minerals and animals.
Give me that thing.
Plants, so I think he's going to be about 3 animals at the same time.
Okay.
Just because it says plants that are native, it means it basically
Native means.
every like plant or an animal that was there before other people arrived.
Right, that naturally grew in the area before humans had any contact. Which the Xerxes blue butterfly and the Raven's manzanita were native plants.
I have a reason to say that.
Okay, I guess.
Go to the lead. Oh, yeah, this is me too. Yeah, before the Spanish explorers came, there was like no trees, it was just hills, but now if you look at the picture that is today, there's trees everywhere. So
Yeah, so they've
that's the
actually-
change.
Right, they've planted, and then they planted so that the sand didn't just blow constantly. Planting trees helped kind of protect from the wind blowing. So it seems to me like you guys found a few reasons that support something we as humans have to do to help this area. If we think about the persuasive writing we're going to be doing, and I talked about how when you write as a persuasive writer, you're trying to convince people to take action, to do something to help nature. This author really is persuading us to do something, to take action. I want you to think about right now and connect what you remember from the field trip you went on with Mr. Holton down to the little barn pond wetland, what you read and hear about the Presidio, and what the students learned at the Everglades, visiting the Everglades, and all 3 of those. I want you to take them together and start to evaluate, what from the different reasons authors have given me that persuade me to do better to protect nature? What could I persuade people in our area to do to protect the wetlands area? An actual thing you might tell someone in our area to do. I'm going to have you share them with your group, starting with, is anyone ready? Okay, one at a time sharing. I'm going to allow you to share in whatever order. That way it gives people time to think. But we all need to think of what's an action step, something we can tell people to do to protect our area, since we know other areas are having the same problem. Go ahead, Paul.
We could tell people that some plants and native species are going to extinct in areas around the Presidio, the Everglades, and the Little Barn Pond in Washington.
The living
So
soil
Presidio
is
is
a
not national.
knobby black crust.
When you say in Washington.
Why is that a clunker?
Yes, but he didn't say exactly. That sounds like a loose. He just said just CDO. But then that's how we can be like, where's the and then
They just helped.
you basically just
If you
said
have a
where
log
the bump.
that's down,
He didn't even say
and
where
it
it
has
actually
some
is. He just said
knobs,
Washington. He
knobs,
didn't say
kind of like a bump, right? Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Sometimes they say you have knobby knees.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, bumpy knees.
Okay. How about sandstone? Where was that? Here. Yep, that
For me, TV, the Aubrey to the
Right?
You saw it? Her and the
Yeah, there was lots of garbage in the lake.
And why was that under sandstone?
You should see my
Yeah.
She didn't understand.
You should see my
There's a log in there.
That's a
There's
good
this
question, yeah.
fence.
Sand and stone seem kind of like opposites, right? So what is sandstone? The compound word sandstone?
I think your hand. There's no teacher.
I don't know what it is.
I mean, I know it's in my back, separate words, but they're not, they're put together.
Is it on sand that you like compact?
We came up with an action, something we can do. Ryan, what was yours? So,
In Florida, the Everglades, the plant that grows in the water, if you throw out the garbage and stuff in there,
yeah? Good job connecting the different texts, right? We connect what we know about from the Everglades. The Presidio? Oh, the macro?
like help paint put it
Yeah, good memory from the wetlands trip. Excellent. All right, we'll keep going tomorrow about the urban park in Washington, D.C. Thank you. Nice job. All right, good job.
They look like their shoes are wearing second grade.
I
So we talked about
It is? Thank you.
we went together. Yeah, so we went together and talked about nature and how we can, cohabitate. So I never got over to do that because I had and I'll be perspective.